All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope that everyone is having a fabulous week so far. It's Alyssa from your Spa Performance team here at the corporate office, and we are extremely excited about today's training. We know, and I'm sure you guys know by now, that sometimes in these summer months, we can start to see a little bit of a drop off in our net. We tend to be getting more than the usual cancellation requests, and so we want to make sure that we are prepared to handle any type of request like this so that we can do everything in our power to keep our net as high as possible to survive through the summer months. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going over all of the different ways to save your net and to retain your members, obviously, by stopping these cancellation requests in the first place. But then, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about how to actually handle those cancellation requests and the different kinds of ways to save a cancellation. So I'm so excited to be going over this. I think it's a great training, and I think it's something that's important for all of us to know. So just an overview of some of the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the number one way to save a cancellation, the best payment option for drafting, the actual cancellation process. Hopefully you guys have a process in place already, and we'll discuss the different steps to that process. If you do not, or if you're looking for a way to increase your process, or to improve your process, I should say, tips to save cancellations, and then of course the best practices of our top locations to avoid cancellation requests in the first place. Because we all know that the number one way to save a cancellation, right, is to not have a cancellation request in the first place. And the only way that we can do that is by making sure that we're staying on top of our member retention. And what do we mean by member retention? Obviously, retention is the amount of how well we are retaining our members, right? We're keeping them coming back again and again. And the only way to do that is by staying on top of new member follow-up, right? You want to stop member retention the second that member joins. Because remember, they came and they joined for a reason. There were certain goals that they had put in place for themselves. There are certain results that they are looking to achieve. And that's why they came to us, and that's why they chose Planet Beach to help them through this process. So we need to make sure that we're staying engaged with our members, we're staying on top of their goals, and helping them see those results to get them to where they want to be. And the way to do that is by new member follow-up, right? And if you guys have gotten the new Spot and Tell update by now, and which I know most of you guys have, then you probably know, and you've seen in the webinar that Robin hosted not too long ago, that Spot and Tell now is taking a lot of that new member follow-up off of your plate, which is great. It's automatic, so it doesn't have that human error. And it also saves our consultants from having to stay on top of that, and they can focus on that one-on-one, face-to-face interaction, and not so much having to go through all this paperwork and things like that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should allow Spot and Tell's new member follow-up to take 100% place of your follow-up, because there is still that person-to-person, that relationship building aspect of the new member follow-up that you don't want to lose touch of, because that relationship building is what's really going to keep that member there. You know, Spot and Tell cannot consult your members. They can't help put them on a regime. They can't stay on top of their results. So make sure that even though the Spot and Tell update is there to help you, that we're not relying 100% on it. So make sure that we are staying on top of that. Of course, make sure that we are not only utilizing that personal spa profile on the first guest visit, but that we're continuing to consult our members every 90 days and re-PSP them, because goals change. You know, people are looking for different results. If someone joined in the beginning just because of a special event, now the event's gone and passed, and now they're looking forward to something else. Not only that, but we should make sure that we are utilizing that regime builder and setting up every single new member on a personal regime to keep them engaged, keep them coming back again and again, and setting them up with products to pair with those services as well. So that is your number one way to save a cancellation, is by keeping up, staying on top of your new members, staying on top of their results, and staying engaged with them. Not only in the spa, but on social media, emails, texts, things like that, making sure that you are staying on top of them and keeping them coming back again and again. So we all know that we can try our best with member retention, but you still may have those issues of some members falling off, and not only falling off by actual cancellation requests, but there's some other ways that our members can fall off as well. And I'm sure you guys know this, and we're talking about actual collections for our draft. Now, with new chip and PIN cards and the increase of security breaches, fraudulent charges, things like that, lost and stolen cards, there's a lot of us that are experiencing a dip in our draft just from the lack of new card payments, or even some of these new chip and PIN cards that have super high security measures on them that prevent any kind of draft charges. So that tends to be hurting our draft as well. And so that's why the best payment option for our draft is ACH. And by ACH, we mean utilizing your checking account versus a debit card or a credit card. Sure, your debit card is coming, any payment off of your debit card is coming out of your checking account. However, with your checking account, you're not experiencing the actual chip and PIN with the card. You're not experiencing the expiration dates changing every couple of years. Whenever there's a security breach, like the one that we had at Target, or things like that, or even lost, stolen cards, fraudulent charges, things like that, when people are having to get new cards, you're not experiencing that change of card number. Your account number, your routing number, that's going to stay the same regardless of your debit card changing. So that's why it's important to actually get that checking account number and the routing number. That way you can plug that straight into Spot Intel and you don't have to worry about any of that. So when we're talking about getting checking accounts, that's going to affect us in two different ways. One, we're going to have to make sure that from now on, when we're signing up new members, that ACH is our go-to for payment options whenever we are closing a sale. And not only that, but we're forced to look at our existing members as well. So many of our existing members have a credit card on file or a debit card on file, and we have to put a process in place in order to convert them over to a checking account. That way we can increase our collection, right? What's in it for me? And I say what's in it for me, and I mean what's in it for you guys as franchisees, as spa directors. Why would you want to put all this effort into collecting a checking account number versus a credit card number or a debit card number? Because in order for this to be successful, you guys have to be sold on it, right? So a higher collection rate, that benefits you right then and there. We probably don't even have to go on after that. What we're seeing is that a checking account has a 90% collection rate versus some of our members that have credit cards, debit cards, things like that. We already talked about all the different ways that that can hurt us. But ACH has just been proven to be so much more successful. So what happens when you have a higher collection rate? Well, one, your spa consultants, all of your employees, have so much more time to focus on other things, right? They can focus on building our net by selling new members because they have more time to spend making Reds calls, actually spending one-on-one time with new guests coming in, and just like we talked about, they have more time to stay on top of new member follow-up, member retention aspects to help avoid any cancellation requests in the future. So that's a win-win for us. We also are going to experience some lower processing fees. I'm sure you guys see that anytime that you're running your draft and you have majority of credit cards, that's a 3% processing fee every time you run your draft, or every time for every transaction. Why wouldn't we want to lower that fee? Why wouldn't we want to pay less to collect the same amount of money? Not only that, but Vericheck, who is our vendor for our ACH transactions, they have the ability, or you have the ability, to go under your account and change your notifications for email notification. So as some of us know, or hopefully we should all know by now, the only kind of negative aspect that I can see right now about checking is that when you run your draft, your ACH members are not when you run your draft and you have ACH members, that's not necessarily going to read with spot intel at this time. I know Robin's been working really hard, Robin and Lloyd, with Vericheck to get that to kind of communicate with each other. That way it will speak in the very near future. But unfortunately, right now it doesn't. But the good thing is that Vericheck, like I said, you can turn on your email notifications. That way, anytime that you run a transaction through Vericheck and it doesn't go through, it's NSF for whatever reason, they'll send you an email right then and there. So that'll notify you to, hey, I need to reach out to that member and see what's going on. Maybe we need to change the draft date. Maybe we need to get updated information. Maybe, you know, something changed, something went wrong. Or not or, but and we can go into Spot Intel, mark that transaction as NSF. It will reverse the payment, and that way it'll keep that charge on the account. That way you know that that member has to pay next time that they come in. So that's important to know as well. So now that we know what's in it for us, what's in it for them? What's in it for our members to want to give us a voided check or want to give us their account information? Why would they want to do that? Well, just like we talked about with all these security breaches, lost and stolen cards, fraudulent charges, things like that, a lot of our members are experiencing a lot of runaround. Every time something like this happens, they have to call their utilities, they have to call their rent, they have to call all these different places to give these places their new updated card information. Well, this will be one less place that they'll ever have to do that. They won't have to worry about that. And not only that, like I was saying, a lot of these new cards have extremely high security measures that don't allow a draft to go through at all on those cards. So this will save them a lot of phone calls to the bank, trying to actually get transactions to push through and things like that. So it's extremely convenient for them. And as we all know, anytime that we're making any collection calls, it's a very sensitive subject. It's sensitive for us to have to ask someone for money. You know, that's not comfortable for everyone. And not only that, but your member on the other end. You know, sometimes the reason that their payment didn't go through has nothing to do with them at all. Like I was saying, these new cards have security measures. Maybe they lost got their card stolen, or they got a new card in the mail because their last one expired and they just didn't realize it. They didn't think to call these places to get their card updated, so they don't really understand why their payment didn't go through. And sometimes they get upset with us for calling them to ask. So this will save us from having to have those calls, having to have those conversations, or create any customer service issues, or make any of our members feel uncomfortable and unwelcome. So that'll save us and them from that kind of awkward conversation. This is also going to save us, that way they won't have any kind of interruption in their membership. There won't be any time where they can't come in because their payment didn't go through, they can't afford to pay this month, whatever. We don't want them to experience any kind of interruption in their membership, because anytime they have an interruption in their membership, they can get out of the habit of coming in to see us, doing our services, and we don't want them to get in that habit. We want them to keep in the habit of coming in daily, using multiple services, and that way they can see the results they're looking for, and we never have to worry about any kind of cancellation requests coming in. You can also reassure them if they have any inkling that they don't want to give us any checking information, that we do not work with any third-party collections agencies. We do all of our collections in-house. And just like we talked to them about it when they first joined, we work with every single member on a base-to-base situation, just depending on what's going on in their lives at the time. And we always like to help anyone and work with them to make, you know, any changes if necessary to help them out. And then, of course, any chosen incentive that we've put in place. So what do I mean by that? So in order to attempt to convert our members from their credit card or their debit card over to their checking account, we want to put some kind of incentive in place for them to entice them to want to do that, right? These are all great reasons why we can convert them over, and these are all to help you as well to overcome any objections that your members might give you about giving you a voided check. But you can also put something in place, something for them, right? A free gift. Maybe something like a collagen mask, or a little thing of mint, a lip balm, something like that that is super cheap for us, but is beneficial to our members as well. You could even do something, a percentage off of a new product, right? Maybe it's some spa bucks or $5 off of their next month's membership dues. Maybe it's, you know, their next solution their next solution fee is on us, or a free mat and towel rental for their next hot work session. Something like that that's going to entice them to want to bring in that voided check and upgrade their payment information to our Easy Pay program. And that's the best way to word it to them, is that they're eligible for an upgrade to their membership, and we want to upgrade them to our Easy Pay program for all these reasons. It's more convenient for them. We don't have to bother them every time their card is expired or lost or stolen or anything like that. So that's a great way to kind of word it to them. So where do I begin, right? Hopefully you guys are sold on why we need to, one, begin accepting or collecting checking account numbers or voided checks at the point of sale, but also why we need to put our effort into converting all of our current members onto this payment method as well. So the first thing that you need to do is sell your staff on it. If you notice, that's the first thing that I talked about, is what's in it for you. Why would you want to do this? Because you need to be sold on it. As franchisees, as spa directors, if you're not sold on it, then it's never going to get done. And we talk about that for everything, right? With them, what's in it for me? That's so important to know or to think about in any aspect in our business, right? What's in it for me? So if your staff isn't sold on the idea, like I said, we're not going to be successful in this conversion. So how do we sell our staff on it? Well, as spa directors, I'm hoping that our spa directors are incentivized by collections and by our Net EFT, right? They should be incentivized by getting the net to a certain number and keeping the net to a certain number. And if they are, then this is going to make their jobs so much more easily. They're going to hit those goals easier, and they're going to get their bonuses a lot easier. Our spa consultants are incentivized by it because if our Net EFT is higher, then it's going to be easier for them to hit their in-the-bank goals. So again, they're hitting bonuses as well. But we can go a step above that, and we can put a certain incentive in place to entice them even more to want to convert some people over, right? We can put a number in place. We need to have 50 members converted to ACH by August 1. And if they do, right, maybe whoever converts the most members can get a gift card to Forever 21, Victoria's Secret, whatever their favorite store is, or maybe it's a nail salon or a hair salon, something like that. Or maybe you can keep it as a team goal, right? If as a team we can get 50 members converted, we'll all go to dinner, we'll have team building, we'll do whatever. You guys know your team better than anyone else, so you can put a goal like that in place for them, but keep it fun. If you don't want to do a team, like I said, if you want to do it on an individual basis, whoever gets the most or the most over 10, right, you can put a certain minimum in place. And then you can even put a chart up in the spa, in their, employee room or in the laundry room, wherever, and kind of keep a tally mark just to kind of keep it fun, keep it exciting, and keep it competitive. That's a fun way to do it. You can also pull your query of all your active EFT members. You can do that two different ways. You can do it under reports, or you can also do it under your marketing queries. You can filter it to just show up your members. You can pull your report that way. You can pull up all your contact information. And you guys can begin proactively reaching out to these members and having the conversation about upgrading their membership to our Easy Pay program. You can then book their next appointment and remind them to bring in a voided check on that visit. Now, one objection that you may get from your members is that they don't have a check. So many people these days do not even have a checkbook. We don't use checks for anything, right? That's what's so great about our debit cards and our credit cards. We don't have to carry around those things anymore. And that's okay. They can do two things here. They can either, one, get their routing and account number, or two, they can call their bank and get a temporary check that they can just write void on and bring that in. That way they don't have to waste money buying checkbooks, things like that, if they're not using them anywhere else. You, of course, when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure that you're reaching out to your frequent visitors first. We talk about it a lot, and a lot of our franchisees are extremely, nervous to kind of wake the sleeping dragon. And what do we mean by that? That's, kind of contacting those members that haven't been in a really long time. They haven't been in years. Maybe they even forgot they had a membership with us, yet they're still paying every single month. And I can totally see, where that worry may come from. So that's why you want to make sure you're contacting your frequent visitors first. You can go through that list and kind of highlight the names that you recognize, the people that you know that you have a certain relationship with. But at the same time, don't be too scared to wake that sleeping dragon, because if you're not getting that person into the store and utilizing the services, then eventually they're going to notice. They're going to notice that this is coming out of their account. And if they're not utilizing the services, then they're going to cancel anyways. So it's almost better to do it proactively. Reach out to them. Hey, we haven't seen you in a while. Just want to let you know you're eligible for a payment upgrade. You may be in that situation where they're saying, hey, Planet Beach, I didn't realize I still had a membership. I need to cancel that. And that's okay, because we're going to get them set up on a regime for their next 60 days while they're going through that cancellation process. And we're going to get them sold back on us and remind them why they joined in the first place. We're also going to call, email, text, and promote in the spa. So we talked about calling, right? Reaching out to all of those people. If we can't get in touch with them, you definitely want to make sure that, just like we do our weekly email and text blast to our database, utilizing our marketing calendar, we can kind of switch out one of those weekly campaigns for a campaign like this, because it's extremely important and it's vital for your business, and it's vital for your Net EFT. And you can promote in the spa as well. You also want to make sure for any future membership sales that we're going straight for that ACH versus putting a debit card or a credit card on file. Or even better, get both. There's nothing wrong with getting two forms of payment to put on their account. That way, if the first one doesn't go through, you can always go back into their account and check the next payment option, right? If you have multiple, if you have 2 or 3, 2 being perfect, then you can go and check for the next one. And then you can make sure that you're creating that conversation in the spa. So reaching out to them proactively, but also we have to have that reactive approach. So as our members are coming in and utilize our services or buy products, things like that, we can make sure that we're creating that conversation, right? Anytime we're checking them into their service appointment, we should be in the habit of checking their service history, checking their retail history. And if we're doing that, then we can add on to that those great habits by checking their payment on file and seeing if we have a checking account or if we still have a card account, and then having that conversation about upgrading their payment to our Easy Pay program. Now, there's other ways to create that conversation as well. So we talked about one of the gifts being a percentage off of their next retail purchase. What about when our members are buying a product? That's a great opportunity for you to talk to them about how they can get 15% off of their purchase. Why not bring it up then? Or even when your members are trying to kind of cash in their ambassador rewards, another great way. They're already asking for something, so why not kind of make them work for it a little bit? We do have some marketing items that you can use. These are both on Orion. You can, these are great to use for your email blast. You can even use these images for your text blast, and you can post these around the spa as well. So now that we talked about the best payment option for our draft, and hopefully you guys are sold on that and have already, kind of getting some creative juices going on about how you can convert your members over, we still know that there is a situation where we can't necessarily avoid the cancellation conversation, right? So if that happens, if we do have someone coming in and requesting to cancel, how are we handling that situation? It is so vital to have a strict process in place for any members that request to cancel, and you have to make sure that you're sticking with this strict process. So the very first thing we're going to talk about, and it's so important, spa consultants are not allowed to process any cancellations. They are only allowed to accept requests, and requests are only requests. Now, why would we do this? You do not want your untrained, brand new spa consultant responsible for saving a cancellation. It's not in their job duties. That is something that a manager should be handling. Our manager is typically someone that's been around the longest. They're the most trained, and they're the most able to handle a situation like this. And typically, They're in the spa the majority of the time, so they typically have the best relationships with your members. So they're able to relate to that member on a very personal basis, rather than someone that that this member's never even spoke to before, never even seen before, trying to convince them why they shouldn't cancel. So in the event that your spa director is not in the spa at the time that a member comes in and requests to cancel, your consultant can take that request, but they need to be trained on how to handle it. So the first thing first is they need to make sure that they are communicating to the member that this is just a request, that they are not allowed and do not have access to cancel their account, but they are happy to put in a request with them. Make sure that they are communicating that their spa director will be reaching out to them, and make sure that they're taking notes. The first thing to have them do is apologize. Make sure that your spa consultants are apologizing anytime someone puts in a request. Why would they apologize? They didn't do anything wrong, right? But what that does is anytime someone's coming in to cancel, a member, they typically have their guard up. They're very defensive and they're almost like ready to fight back. So a great way to drop their guard and kind of throw them off their game is apologize. I'm so sorry. What did we do wrong? And typically that member is going to be kind of thrown off and say, well, no, you didn't do anything wrong at all. I'm having financial hardship, or my husband got laid off, or I'm moving, whatever the reason might be. I love you guys. The services are great. It's just this, right? So that'll kind of get them on a personal level, but then your consultant can also take notes and kind of write on that cancellation request the reason why that person is asking to cancel, and they're setting that member up to kind of feel bad about canceling, rather than coming in on the defense and ready to fight, ready to argue. And that also sets up your spa director for success, because that member realizes that this was just a request and that the spa director is going to be reaching out. Make sure that you have a process in place for your spa consultants to put requests in for the spa director to find, right? Whether it's your cancellation tracking sheet, which is, in my opinion, the best tool to use for something like this. Your spa consultant should have access to this, to where they can go and put in a name, put in the notes or the reasoning why this person has requested to cancel. And your spa director should be in the habit of checking this once a week, so that they can stay on top of any kind of cancellation request. They can schedule their cancellation consultation with that member, and they can handle this on a weekly basis. That way these cancellation requests aren't being piled up and getting too overwhelming for the spa director. If you're not using the cancellation tracking sheet, some locations are using a folder, right? You have a cancellation request folder that the consultants can put the request in. The spa director checks it every week. Whatever your situation is, make sure you have a process in place. You have something in place to where you're not put in that situation months later where a member thinks that they canceled, they really didn't, the cancellation request got lost somewhere. I know that we've kind of all been in a similar situation to that, and we just don't want to create those customer service issues at any point. Make sure that our spa directors are hosting a cancellation consultation. What do I mean by that? This should be hopefully a meeting that's face-to-face. Like I said, if the spa director is not there at the time, the consultant has to put in the request. The spa director can reach out to that member and hopefully schedule a one-on-one consultation with that member face-to-face. We realize that that's the ideal situation, but that's not always the situation. Not everyone has the opportunity to come back in after they've already come in and put in that request. But if they can, it's the perfect way to do it is face-to-face. If you are there, and the spa director is there at the time that a member comes in to cancel or to put in their request, if that spa director has time, great, do it right there at that moment. But if not, then schedule a time that you can. The last thing you want is to, be handling a cancellation while you're slammed and you're super busy and you don't have the time to really focus on trying to save that cancellation, because that's how your cancellations are going to pile up and you're going to start seeing that huge EFT decrease at the end of the month. And we'll go into a little more detail on how to host that cancellation consultation in just a second. You also want to use that cancellation tracking sheet to log and track your outreach. Why would we do this, right? If our spa directors are checking that tracking sheet at the end of the week and they're reaching out to all their requests to schedule their appointments, to schedule those consultations, let's be honest, they're not going to be able to reach every single person and schedule a consultation with every single person. Chances are there's going to be multiple people they've called, had to leave a voicemail, wasn't able to reach, or the member answered, said, hey, can you call me back at this time? Or maybe even they've had the conversation, either the consultation or they've had a phone conversation if that member wasn't able to come back in for a face-to-face meeting and they had to have the conversation over the phone. Maybe they had that conversation over the phone and the spa director gave the member a couple different options other than canceling. Maybe they are decided to transfer and they're looking for someone to transfer their membership to. You want to have those notes. That way, at the end of the week, when you're going back to this tracking sheet and you're checking it, you can follow up with all those people. That way, none of these cancellations fall through the cracks. And then if you can't save a cancellation, right, because it would be amazing, we'd all be making $1 million a month if we never had any members cancel. But if you are in that situation where someone just absolutely has to cancel, then depending on their membership agreement, they're still going to have either a 30 or 60-day notice. So there's still a month or 2 months that these members are still have access and are still paying for services. So why not have them utilize it? Chances are you can put them back on a regime, make sure that they have the scheduled days that they have open and available to come to our spa. They know what services they're coming in. They have the products to use for those services. Chances are they're going to get back in the habit of coming to us. They're going to start seeing results again. And they're going to cancel their cancellation request. They're going to end up staying with you. So make sure that you're doing this. And if all else fails and they decide to cancel, at least you know you did everything in your power to save them. Quarterly cleanouts. Also, make sure that at the, every 3 months, right? We talk about every 90 days, that you're going through your draft and you're canceling out anyone that you haven't been able to collect for 90 days. There's no reason to have them sitting in your draft and continuing to try and process every single month if you know you're never going to see that money. All it's doing is skewing your collection rate, and it's skewing your number of members that you have currently. So make sure that you're doing that every 3 months. Not only that, but it's a lot easier for our franchisees, our spa directors, and even us in Spa Performance to track your retention rate and track your attrition rate. You know how quickly your members are leaving you. So if you're doing this every 3 months and you're staying on top of it, then you're never going to experience those thousands of dollars at EFT decrease that sometimes you guys can see on Spa Central. And then repeat. Make sure, like I said, that your spa directors are in the habit. They have it on their Google Calendar to notify them, to remind them to check this cancellation tracking sheet every single week, to stay on top of these cancellation requests as they're coming in, to stay on top of their cancellation consultations, and stay on top of these members who are attempting to transfer their membership to another person. Now, when we talked about accepting cancellation requests, we talked about taking notes and finding out what the reasoning is on why that member wants to cancel. This is not only important for our spa consultants to do when accepting cancellation requests, but this is important for our spa directors to do as well before they're hosting this cancellation consultation. You want to be prepared for your cancellation consultation. So not only do you need to know the reasoning for a person wanting to cancel, but you've got to research that member as well. Maybe it's a member that you know well and you don't need to look at any of this information because you already know it. But sometimes, and chances are, the members that are attempting to cancel haven't been coming in that often, or maybe it's someone that you don't have the best relationship with. So you want to make sure that you are looking into their customer profile, finding out when they joined, what their favorite service was, their most purchased products, the last time that they purchased products, and if they've had any complaints or issues recently that may have affected, their desire to cancel. So once you have this information, right, it's time to schedule and host our cancellation consultation. So what's the first step for this, right? We've gathered all our information. What do we need to do? We talked about it earlier. The first thing to do is apologize and take ownership. I am so sorry, Miss Mary, that you're wanting to cancel. This is our fault. What did we do wrong? It puts their guard down. They're no longer defensive. They're no longer trying to come in and fight or come in to push. If anything, they're going to say, no, you didn't do anything wrong at all. I love you guys. Y'all are so nice. I love coming in here. It makes my day. I love the hydration. It's my favorite. I feel so great when I come out of there. I've lost so much weight, whatever. I just haven't been coming in that much anymore. Okay, so you're saying that you do love us, you do love our services, but you're just not able to come in anymore, right? So you're repeating that back to them and almost telling them how silly it sounds or using their own words against them, right? So repeat the reason back to them. So you're saying we didn't do anything wrong and you just haven't been able to come in. So why haven't you been able to come in? Oh, I've been busy, right? Especially right now in the summer months. Or any of our moms that are members, their kids are out of school, so they may not have as much free time as they normally had. So what do we do then? Of course, we can attempt to put back that regime, right? Find out what days they are available. Maybe they had their regime, it's just not the right days and times for them anymore. We can update that, or we can find out another solution, right? What can we do to help? So now that we know the reason, right, we've apologized, we've repeated that reason back, we've got to have a solution in mind and some backup solutions just in case that first one fails, right? So what are some different solutions to canceling, right? So we're going to talk about some of these solutions and then we're going to talk about how to overcome any cancellation objections. So the first alternative to canceling is freezing, right? That one's so easy and it's typically the biggest go-to for a cancellation. If someone is just in a situation that's a financial hardship or they haven't been coming in very often, then a freeze is perfect to recommend to that member to not lose them altogether. If that doesn't work out, we can definitely offer a downgrade, especially if someone is a titanium member or gold member. There's always those other options, your silver option, or at the very least, the limited option. If you guys see, we do have a limited option. It's $19 a month. It's just one spa service a month. Nothing else is included. And it's just $19. It's not necessarily a membership that was put in place for us to actually sell, but it was put in place for us to have another membership option to save a cancellation in the event that a member is going through a hard time. If downgrade isn't enough, right, we can always freeze and downgrade. So freeze and downgrade, we can freeze them for a couple of months, downgrade them down to a silver or down to a limited. That way their monthly payment still isn't very much. Or we can always take these situations case by case, just like we do when the members join. If someone's trying to cancel you, do everything in your power to save them, just like you would do everything in your power to get them to join in the first place. If it's a financial situation, of course, make sure that you're getting everything approved through your franchisee, but do your best. And then, of course, we have our transfer option, which is perfect for anyone who's moving, anyone in the military, or someone that's going through an extreme financial hardship and isn't able to pay that 60-day notice, that $99 cancellation fee. That transfer option's perfect for them because they're not responsible for any future payments if they're able to transfer that membership over to a friend, a coworker, a family member, someone like that. So now that we know our different options, we need to know all the facts about canceling, and hopefully you guys do know all these facts. But these are great facts to use to overcome any objections of someone saying, no, I just want to cancel. That's perfectly fine. We can get you all canceled out. I just want you to understand these few things, right? These are just different ways that we can talk someone out of wanting to cancel in the first place. We always want to remind them of their favorite service and product. Remember, that's one of the things that we were researching about them is what service they use the most, what product they bought the most. Miss Mary, how are you going to live without your hydration and your contour oil? You love that stuff. You're practically addicted, right? Make sure that you're pushing that and reminding them, hey, how am I going to live without that? I do love it. Making sure that they understand that they are going to be responsible for a $99 cancellation fee or a 30 or 60-day notice depending on their membership agreement when they first joined. We do know our members do not love this $99 cancellation fee. but it's put there in place for a reason. And that reason is to save our cancellations, is to avoid them canceling in the first place. No one wants to dish out $100 just to get out of a contract. No one wants to do that, right? So making sure that you're communicating that, you don't want to communicate it in a super rude or negative way to where it's going to create a customer service complaint. But communicating, I would hate for you to have to pay this $99 fee and then you're still responsible for 2 more months. Why would you do that when we can just freeze? You know you're going to want to come back. I would hate for you to have to pay this and then you're going to have to pay again to re-enroll later on. Let's just freeze you out for a couple of months. If, the 3-month that you see in your membership agreement isn't long enough for you, we can work with you. I just would hate for you to have to pay all this money right now when I know you're already going through financial hardship. That's the best way to present it, rather than, well, you're going to be responsible for $99 and you still have to pay 2 months. It's when our spa consultants who are super untrained and they don't really understand how serious losing a member is, that we get in those situations, and that's what ends up causing a customer service complaint in the end. It's not the actual membership agreement or the terms in the agreement, but it's all on how we handle those terms and how we communicate it to the member that can either turn a situation positive or negatively. You also want to remind your members we're not going to be able to honor the same program or pricing, right? Our prices change often. We know that, right? They've just recently changed. So we know that they change. We know that our memberships change. The memberships that we have now are not the same memberships that were here 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So some of our members that are on these older reciprocal memberships that they're paying half price, why would you want to lose out on that membership and that price? There is nothing today that we offer that's comparable to that. I would hate to see you lose out on this membership when you've been a member for 6 years, your loyalty program kicked in, you're only paying half price, and you're able to go to every location. I would hate to see you miss out and lose this price and this program, right? Let's put you on a freeze, or at the very least, if they're moving, if it's a situation we can't control, let's transfer it to someone. Like we said, they're going to have to re-enroll for $99, and if they, like I was just kind of saying, if they've already hit their loyalty program, right, they are already hit that 24-month mark, or maybe they're close to hitting it. Look, you only have 2 more months of paying full price, and your membership's going to cut in half, especially if someone's going through a financial hardship, but they love your services and they didn't really want to cancel in the first place. They just are in a situation where they can't necessarily afford it. This is a great thing to remind them. Hey, next month is, you're going to be cut in half, or in 2 months, whatever it might be, especially if they're close or if they've already been cut in half. It's a perfect thing to remind them of. Or even if they're moving, right? If they have a reciprocal membership and they're moving away, but they can't afford this membership because they're having to pay all these moving costs, but they only have 1 month or 2 more months to pay, remind them of that. It's only 2 more months and it's going to cut in half, and there's a Planet Beach by you. You're still able to access a location nearby. You can also remind them that they have any family add-ons to their account, that those family add-ons are now going to be charged full price. That family add-on is only eligible as long as you're a member. So now that you're canceling, your daughter and your husband, they're going to have to pay full price as well. And then, of course, any earned ambassador rewards are going to be null and void. So if they had got 4 friends to join and they were saving up those ambassador rewards for that 5th one so they can get their free year, you can remind them of that. Hey, you only have 1 more friend away from getting a free year. Why don't you do this? I know you work at the gym. You see a bunch of people all the time. Talk to them about us. Send them in here for a free service. And if any of them join like you did, then you get that free year. Or you can turn it that way in a different, even if they don't have any ambassador rewards yet, talk to them about the ambassador program and about how easy it is for them to earn a free year or even a free lifetime membership with us just by sending their friends in, their coworkers, or people that they meet out. Again, that's perfect for someone who loves our services, who's constantly using us, is just in a financial situation. So I have on here, oh, why, right? Because that should be your immediate response when someone says that they want to cancel. Oh no, why? But you love your membership, right? So what are the different reasons why someone would want to cancel? They're moving, right? Or they're in the military, so they are constantly relocating. What's a perfect situation for them? We never want to say that canceling is a perfect situation, right? Search where they're moving to. Do they have a Planet Beach there? That's a great thing about being a member of a Planet Beach is that we have so many all over the country. So no matter where they're moving, chances are there's a Planet Beach near them. And that's a great opportunity for you to turn a cancellation into a reciprocal membership upgrade. Why not, right? You're able to upgrade that membership to a titanium so that they're able to visit any location, no matter where they are. They have a job that they travel a lot. Again, that's a perk of being a Planet Beach member is that there's typically going to be a location near them no matter where they are. Or we can transfer that membership. Why would someone want to transfer versus just canceling? Well, if they transfer, that's an immediate cancellation. They're not responsible for any future payments. They're not responsible for the $99 cancellation fee. They're able to just kind of wipe their hands clean and walk away without any future payments or responsibilities to us. And that's extremely ideal for anyone wanting to cancel, especially if it's for a situation like they're moving. We know that there's a lot of financial costs that go hand in hand with moving, so why add on to their financial hardship when we can just transfer that membership over? Financial or medical reason, right? Medical, depending on how severe the situation is. Someone broke their arm, broke their leg, they're not able to come in. Why cancel? We know you're gonna come back. You love our services. You come in all the time. Why put yourself in a situation where you're faced with a $99 cancellation fee and then you're going to be faced with another $99 when you decide to re-enroll a couple months later? Let's go ahead and put you on a freeze. We'll freeze you for, we can do it for up to 3 months. If that's not good enough, you want to work with every single person individually based on their situation, right? We can extend that freeze, or in another situation, we could maybe even do a $5 freeze instead of the 20% off of their membership. Again, depending on their situation, when it comes to a financial decision, make sure you're getting everything approved through your franchisee. Or maybe you're in the situation where you have to freeze and downgrade, right? Freeze them, downgrade them down to a silver, downgrade them down to a gold membership. That way we can, if it's a financial situation, say, hey, I know that you're not able to afford this $99 or this $89, but here's what we can do. How does $59 sound? Let's go ahead and downgrade you just for the next couple of months to $59. You won't have access to all the other locations like you normally do, but that's okay. You still have access here, or maybe you're even downgrading them to a silver. You won't have full access like you did with your $59 membership. However, you will have 4, so you can still come in every now and again. And then once you get back on your feet, then we can upgrade you back to have full access to our spa again. And then lack of use, inconvenience, or not seeing results. Now, if this is the situation, then we absolutely 100% have to take ownership for this kind of cancellation request. We completely understand that members do get busy and they do get out of the habit of using us. But that's why we have so many member retention tools put in place, is to avoid a situation like this, because we never want to have our members coming in to cancel because they're not using our services. We don't want anyone to have to pay for something they're not using. So let's do this, right? Let's go ahead and we'll start the cancellation process, but we want to make sure that for these next 60 days that you're paying for and you still have access to the spa, that you're taking advantage of it and you're actually using our services. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll set you up on a new regime just in case your schedule's changed a little bit, because it seems that it has, seeing as though you haven't been able to make it in very often. Let's get you back in here and at least using the services while you're paying for them for the next 2 months. And like we talked about earlier, chances are this is going to get them back in the habit of using us, back to seeing results, and back to realizing why they decided to join with us in the first place. And they're going to end up staying with you. They're going to end up deciding to not cancel. Now, when we're talking about your approach, right? Because we talked about your approach a couple of times just on the way that you can communicate to your members these different reasons that they're going to see if they decide to cancel. Or while we're having these consultations, like we said, not every time are you going to be able to have a consultation face-to-face with these members. That is ideal, and that's exactly what you want. But if you're not able to do that, then of course we're going to have the conversation over the phone. So we have two different examples of scripts of how you can handle this conversation over the phone. And I want you guys to look at both of these and kind of think how you as a member, as a consumer, would react to these two different ways, and how you would, which one would you prefer to be reached out to in this way. So here's the first one. Hello, may I speak to Mary Brown? Hi, Mary. This is Alyssa. I'm a spa consultant from Planet Beach, corporate in New Orleans. How are you today? Mary, I was just reaching out to see if there were any other options you'd like to consider before proceeding with your cancellation to your membership. We can freeze or downgrade, or both if you'd like. Do any of these options sound like something you would consider doing so that you don't lose this membership with us? Now, how does that sound? I mean, sure, we're straight to the point, right? We're giving them other options. We're maybe even in some people's eyes, they feel like they've done everything that they can. You know, we've asked them if they wanted to freeze or downgrade or both. But let's be honest. To a consumer, what does that even mean? Freeze, downgrade, or both? You know, these are technical terms, and they probably don't even realize what that means, and they're like, no, I just want to cancel. I said I wanted to cancel. I don't want to do any of this, right? So chances are this is not how you'd want to, you know, be reached out to if you're deciding to cancel your membership, especially if it's for a personal reason, a medical reason, financial reason, something like that. This isn't very personal. Here's another example. Hi, is this Mary? Hey, Miss Mary, it's Alyssa calling from Planet Beach. How are you? That's good, assuming that they said good, right? So I was just going through my list of cancellation requests and putting them in process, and I ran across your name. Miss Mary, tell me this is not true. You love your membership. You're practically addicted to the hydrodermafusion as often as you come in here and do it. As sad as it makes us to see you have to cancel, because I see this is due to financial hardship, I wanted to personally reach out to you and remind you that you did receive the membership benefit of freezing your membership when you signed up with us. I just wanted to reach out to you just in case you forgot that you can do that. Now, I know in your agreement it says that you can only freeze for 3 months and that you'll be charged 20% of your monthly fee, but we love having you as a member. So let's figure something out. We can work with you on those terms, you know, depending on your situation. I would hate for you to have to pay to re-enroll, and even worse, pay twice as much for the same membership when you decide to come back. Let us help. What can we do for you? So this is very personal, right? And you're making them feel like I'm just reaching out to you. You know, they don't realize that this is a process that we're doing every week and that this is what we have to do, or, you know, this is our attempt to save them, because we're not making it seem like we're trying to save our job or we're trying to save our net. We're trying to help them. We're reaching out to them personally because we cannot believe that they need to cancel because they love our services so much and we love having them. And that lets them know that we're going to work with them, especially if that situation is financial. We can absolutely work with every single member on a case-to-case basis depending on their situation and do everything in our power that we can to save them. So this is a way better option to reach out to your members. It makes it personal, it makes them feel special, and it reminds them why they loved us so much in the first place. So make sure that you are thinking about things like this whenever you are reaching out to these members that are requesting to cancel. We talk about your approach so much, and your approach is very important in a situation like this as well. So that's how, now that we've kind of went over the process of cancellations, your cancellation consultations, we want to go over some of the best practices of top locations to avoid cancellation requests in the first place. Because like we said, right, the best way to save a cancellation is by not getting one in the first place, right? So what are some ways that we can avoid? What would a top spa do, right? So the first thing that our top spas do, right, to avoid any kind of cancellation request in the first place is continuous consultations and follow-ups. We talked about that so much. And it's one thing to, you know, say that you're doing this or say that your team's doing it, but it's another thing to follow that new member follow-up tracking log. It's another thing to pull your current EFT active members once a quarter to make sure that you are staying on top of your re-PSPing every member, staying on top of keeping them on a regime, and stay on top of them using services. Another thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is that you're setting future appointments. Every time that a member is walking out the door, you should be asking them Did you want to go ahead and set up your next appointment? Or even better, Miss Mary, what time did you want to come in tomorrow? If we're continuing to set them on appointments, they have appointment in place, they're going to come in. Don't leave it in their hands to set their next appointment. At the very least, show them how they can book their appointments online if they're not sure what time they can come in. Make sure that you're letting them leave with guest passes every single time, because if they have their family and friends coming in with them, chances are they're never going to leave you. That's just going to increase your member retention. And when you're setting your future appointments, don't just set the one for tomorrow, right? What time did you want to come in next week? We normally have you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right, Miss Mary? Still at 12 o'clock? You know, you should know your member schedules, or, you know, a lot of them for the most part, for those members that are coming at the same time every week. But set 2 and 3 appointments, not just one. A lot of our top spas are discussing the freeze and transfer options at the point of sale. Why wait for someone to put in a cancellation request for you to talk to them about the other options? This should happen at the point of sale. This is going to help you close sales as well as save cancellations. I know that we have all been in the situation when we are pitching a program option to a new guest, and what do they ask you? Well, how long is that program for? How long is that membership for? Why would we talk about, you know, typically a lot of our spa consultants go straight to, well, it is 24 months, but you can cancel, and we just ask for a 60-day notice, or we have cancellation options. Why would you go straight to cancellation? You've already put that in their head that eventually they can cancel. Instead, you want to convert that conversation over to talking about the other options, right? It is a 24-month program. However, if anything comes up, you go on vacation, you know, something happens, you get hurt, you're not able to make it in, just go ahead and give us a call. We can go ahead and freeze that membership for you. Or if something worse comes up to where you're not able to come in ever again, you're moving out of the area, you're severely ill, whatever the situation might be, you know, God forbid, we can also transfer that membership over to a new member. A lot of our members prefer that. That way they're not responsible for any future payments. So right then and there, you're throwing it in there that if they're not able to transfer, they may be responsible for any future payments, but you're not necessarily going into the details of your cancellation policy, or even talking about cancellation at all. Sure, that question might come up, right? They may ask, well, can I cancel? Absolutely. We have, you know, we do have a cancellation process we can go over later on if that's ever an issue. We can cross that bridge when we get there. Or you can even go into the details, but you want to avoid that conversation as much as possible. You want to show them that there are other options. And collect 2 forms of payment. We talked about this earlier as well. A lot of our top spas are collecting a checking account number and a debit card or a credit card, right? Many of our members prefer to pay on a credit card if they have a credit card where they're getting points off of. Maybe it's travel rewards or cash rewards, whatever it might be. I know I'm personally guilty of that. I have all my bills coming out of my credit card that I get travel rewards for. So why not, right? But that's perfectly fine. We can keep your credit card on file. We can make sure your draft comes out at every time, you know, each month. However, that checking account information is your safe zone. That's for you to fall back on in case that credit card does not go through. You can go into their account information. You can uncheck the box for their credit card. You can check the one for their checking account, and you can rerun their draft, and typically it's going to go through. So that's for your protection. And you can communicate that to them in a way that it's just the way that our program works. It's just the way that Spa Intel works, that our computer system works. I have to have checking account information on file in order to save your membership. Now, I don't have to charge it. I can put your credit card on file. We can make sure that we're charging your card versus your account. I just have to have it on file. And that's another way that you can assure them, that they are still going to get their rewards for their credit card. But you're also saving your butt in the event that that card doesn't go through, that member cancels that card, the card gets lost, expired, whatever the situation might be, you still have another form of payment and another opportunity to collect those membership dues. And then of course, and this is probably number one and so important, that we're holding that spa director accountable to hitting the EFT decrease goal. And I know what some of you may be thinking, why would I have a goal of EFT decrease? I don't want to lose any members. I don't want any EFT decrease. And you're absolutely right. We never want to lose any members, but just like we set an EFT increase goal, we should constantly be setting EFT decrease goals. Let's be realistic. We are going to lose some members, and typically the average is about 8% attrition of our net that we lose each month. So we can either, one, calculate it in that way, or two, you want to set that decrease goal pretty low, and you don't want your location to be in the situation where they go above that decrease goal, right? This is one goal you do not want to beat, right? You want to stay under it. Another way that you can do that is before you run your draft, you can pull up your expected EFT collections. You can pull up how much you're expected to collect this month from your draft. And you typically want it, you can set a goal that way for your spa directors and say, hey, we need 90%, we need to collect 90% of this. And that way, if it's their bonus or an incentive that you put in place to where they have to hit 90% collections of the draft in order to hit their goals, in order to get their bonus, whatever it might be, that's another great way to do it. But you've got to have one or the other in place. And if you don't, that's when your EFT decrease is going to get out of control. And that's also going to make sure that your spa director is staying on top of cleaning out the draft every 90 days. We talked about that earlier. Make sure that you're cleaning that out every quarter, 4 times a year, to make sure that you're staying on top of that and you're not skewing your collection rate and your prospected EFT collections. So what now, right? Now that we've talked about all of these things, what do I do now? Well, the first thing to do is look at your current cancellation process. Do you even have one in place? Hopefully you do, but if not, it's time to put one in place. And of course, we'll put this out, as a recording for you guys if you need to look back at it later or have your spa directors or your entire staff look at it. That's perfectly fine, but make sure you're putting a process in place. Secret shop your location. If you're not sure what your cancellation process is right now, or if you believe that you have one, but you're seeing extremely large EFT decreases every single month and you're not sure what the problem is, your spa director is telling me she's doing everything that she can, but we're just seeing cancellations. You can't accept excuses. So secret shop your location. Send one of your members in there, a trusted member that you know very well, and send them in there and attempt to cancel and see how your staff handles that situation. Do they just say, oh yeah, sure, here, just sign here, I'll go ahead and put it in for you? Or do they apologize, right? Do they find out the reasoning why? Do they do their research? Is your spa director hosting a cancellation consultation? Are they attempting to save that cancellation? Are they giving every other option? Are they exerting every other option before they're resulting to putting in or processing that cancellation? Find out what is happening. That's the only way that you're going to know what's really going on. And then make a change, right? Chances are when you secret shop your location, especially like I said, if you're a location that's seeing extremely high EFT decreases every month, you've got to find out what's going on and make a change. If you don't have a process in place, start it today. Another great thing to do is have your staff come up with 3 things that they want to begin right now to improve member retention, right? To improve the interaction with our members, to improve staying on top of their goals, staying on top of their results. But it's really great to get your staff's ideas and to get them to come up with the ideas, because if they've come up with it, there's a way better chance that they'll execute and stay on top of it because it was their idea. They weren't told to do something. It was their decision to do this in the first place. And then train, drill, repeat, right? Train your staff, not just your spa directors, on how to host cancellation consultations, but you've got to train your spa consultants on how to handle that situation in the event that a spa director is not there and they're forced to put in a cancellation request, right? They've got to make sure they're communicating that it is just a request. The spa director will be in touch. They are apologizing because we're taking ownership. I'm so sorry that you're attempting to cancel. What did we do wrong, right? I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, I'm not able to cancel this out for you, but my spa director is going to reach out to you. She's going to want to make sure, this doesn't have anything to do with us. Now, we didn't do anything wrong. We want to make sure that there was any issues, we can fix them for you. And that's going to set up the situation for your spa director to reach out to that member, and that's going to make it a more positive experience for that spa director and increase their chances of saving that membership. Drill your team, right? Continue to secret shop them, but drill them. You know, every time that you randomly call them and ask them how they would handle that situation. What's their script? What do they do? And repeat, right? Make sure that your spa director is repeating the process of looking through the cancellations every week, hosting cancellation consultations, coming up with new ways to save these cancellations, and repeat. Train, drill, train, drill, train, drill, right? Drill it into their heads. All right, guys, well, I hope that you guys got a lot out of today's training. And if you feel like you need some further training or one-on-one training on anything that we talked about today, saving your net, hosting cancellation consultations, or maybe it's converting your members over to ACH checking, you can contact your regional developer or spa performance consultant, or if you're not sure who your contact is, don't hesitate to email us at spaperformance@planetbeach.com. All right, guys. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I hope that everyone has a great week. Bye, guys.